We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for Mark Boersma for Dummies. And so this is, is it Mark Boersma is a dummy or is it Mark Boersma for dummy? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's Mark Boersma, he is a dummy. So we're going to do a question. There was a question that came up. I don't know where this one's going to go, but it goes deeper into it. So Elaine, you had a question?
Yeah, about 15 years ago when you and Dave Libby met for lunch, what what do you remember about that? And um like how do you remember all these stories, the hundreds and if not thousands of other stories like this?
So, yeah, it was at least 15 years ago. It might have been even longer. It might have been 20 years. Anyways, it was a number of years ago. So, Dave Libby, a friend of mine, and he's like, "Hey, Mark, you want to go out to breakfast on Saturday?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, not a problem. We can do that." So, I don't know, it was scheduled for 7 o'clock on, on a Saturday morning. Now, Dave is, he's a bit like my wife in that, he's late to most everything. And he's a friend, so I don't care. Like I always bring a book or I always bring my journal anyway. So I brought my book, my journal. And so so sure enough, he comes 20 minutes late, which again, that's just Dave. It's not a big deal. Like I figured that's what he would do. And so he walks in and, we give each other a hug and sits down. He says, Mark, you don't give people any room, do you? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I expected him to be late. I wasn't upset. I didn't even say anything. It's just no big deal. Like it's just Dave. It's just who he is. And I'm like, I'm not tracking. He says, on the way here, I was going to be late. And I knew I was going to be late. And I was going to come up with reasons why I was late. Like I have 5 kids, and so I had to attend. And then he's like, shoot, Mark's got 7. And he said, I was at a board meeting last night on a nonprofit. Shoot, Mark's on like 3 boards. Like he said, every excuse that I came up with, like you shot him down without me shooting them down. Like he shot him down in his own mind. And so how do I remember? I don't know. It's just kind of funny. Like they're kind of funny. Like you go to a breakfast with a friend, you're not upset, you're not angry at him. It's just how it is. And he's processing it. So it's a significant story. And so these stories help me to understand myself. Dave's also the one that at the 4th of July, we were at fireworks and I said something to him then probably that he didn't like. And at the end of the fireworks, we're walking away and he's like, Mark, and this was over 20 years ago, maybe 30. He's like, Mark, you're very different than other people. And I get that a lot from a lot of people. I'm always curious, like, what does that mean? Like, so I ask him, what do you mean? He says, you know, I like people, but I don't love them. You love people, but you don't like them. So, I mean, you think about that just 9 months ago, 10 months ago, when Nora and I met. And I tell her it's just so I have a personality that people don't like. Like they just don't like me. And I'm fine with it. I'm like, it's fine. So I tell Nora, you know, 9, 10 months ago, I'm like, hey, just so you heads up, I love people. I just don't like them. And she says, oh, you'll like me. I said, we'll see. And so why do the I'm looking for significant memories, Elaine, and they can come anytime, anywhere with anyone at any. I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Like Roseanne and I don't know, 30 years ago, she and I walking, just doing a walk, a husband wife walk. So we did that quite a bit, and I don't know, we were just talking about nothing, and all of a sudden I said, "Hey, did you get this done in accounting?" And she's like, "You're just weird. Like, how did you remember that? Like, what happened?" And I paused and I thought, how did I? That's kind of strange. Like, how did that thought pop into my mind? And that's when I remember exactly. I could go back to the exact place and the exact sidewalk where we were walking. I remember exactly. Like we were actually going west, the direction. I know, like, and so, like, she helped me to understand something about myself. I'm strange, and it's okay. And how my memory works. So it's like, how do I think of these things? And I put a mental bookmark. So there's certain things that trigger other things. And all of a sudden, all this stuff interconnects. Like you guys got an email yesterday, and it was crazy. I mean, it's just like, what? Like, what? And so I think my life is significant. I think your lives are significant. And so I think that there's all these significant things that happen. But to do that, we have to go ahead and be looking for them. We have to work at them. And then when we go ahead and, like, I remember exactly where I was standing with Courtney, my pickleball coach. And I'm like this little boy. Okay, Courtney, like, what's the biggest challenge that beginning, pickleball players have? And she said, applying what they learn. And it's like, okay, and what's the biggest challenge that intermediate pickleball players? Same thing. So they learn something, but applying it's hard. I'm like, okay, God, what's the biggest challenge that advanced pickleball players have? And she's like, that the drills, doing the consistent drills because they're boring, and so it's doing drills. It's not playing games, it's doing drills. And I'm like, now that's interesting. She knew that about it. She's giggling while I'm asking. She's like, it's you're paying for a one-on-one coaching session and you're interviewing me. I'm like, right? And she goes, and I said, what's the biggest challenge that men have? She didn't even push, like, ego. I'm like, that makes sense. What's the biggest challenge that women have? They don't take care of themselves. They don't prioritize themselves. They put their husband, their kids, everything else in front. Like, okay, what's the biggest challenge that kids have? Self-discipline. And so what I'm trying to do, Elaine, is interconnect everything with everything else. So I've known for years, decades, that often when I'm having a problem in a business, I'm going to find that out. I'm going to find the solution not in business. I'm going to find it out in my marriage, or I'm going to find it out with my kids. And so I have a process to go through when I'm stuck. I look to three sources. I look to small children and teenagers, small children especially, because they can give me answers that nobody else can give. I look to nature because nature is brutal. You don't hunt, you die. You go. Nature is brutal and it's beautiful and it's pure and it's just unbelievable. So I look to nature, and then the third is the Bible to look and say, okay, like spiritual, in the spiritual realm, and so I have to work. So all these interconnections to everything else. I'm talking to Ralph Miller one day, and and this was probably 15 years ago too. And it's like, So like with Alvin Miller and Tom Coons, they're like Alvin's like 86 years old. He talks about when he was JoJo's age, my granddaughter's age, 8 years old, 6 years old. So it seems like the people who are very successful in life have a lot of memories of their childhood. And they talk about the memories, not like a lot of old people where it's the past is so great and the present sucks. It's not that. It's here are lessons that I've learned. So my my brain just gets overwhelmed with all of these stories, and it's like stories of significance, like when Ginger Ann, our oldest daughter, was pregnant with our first grandchild. And I said, well, it just seems to make sense. Like, I've never been a grandpa before. I probably ought to ask some grandpas how to be an amazing grandpa. And I did. Like, I asked a bunch of, and I remember specifically Tom and my Uncle Gary's, Uncle Jim's too, but didn't have as much significance because it didn't seem as substantive. Maybe it was, and I just missed it. I'm not sure. So it's like if we have a significant, if we are significant, which I believe we all are, we're created to be significant, but I think often we don't act significant. And if we don't think in significant ways, like on K-Love, like I'm listening on Saturday, I'm working and it's in the background. All of a sudden, probably a pastor comes on and he says, so it's like a lot of Saturdays I'm working and I'm have Christian music in the background and I'm working along. But all of a sudden out of nowhere, he goes ahead and he says, the second greatest gift that God's given us is friendships after salvation. And it was Easter weekend. And then he said, the biggest enemy to friendships is surface. And he literally said, we're in the shallows with friendships. And that brought back a conversation with my Uncle Gary. So all of these things, so I don't know. It's like, Elaine, it's just life is so exciting. Like there's so much. And my parents, I remember when my parents were getting to my age, so I'm 62. And when they turned, like when they hit maybe mid to late 60s, early 70s, like I developed an entire system over 60 and loving life for my parents. And my brother said, um, Mark, I'm concerned you're putting all this time, money, everything into developing this, and mom and dad aren't even gonna, they're not even gonna listen to it. It's not gonna impact them. And I said, okay, so what are you concerned about? I'm concerned about you that you're gonna get discouraged. I'm like, my own brother doesn't understand me. He doesn't understand. Like he doesn't understand how I think. Like he doesn't understand. I'm not just doing it for my parents. Mostly I'm doing it for me because they're my parents. So biologically, I'm going to have the same biologies that they do, my mom and my dad. And then I was raised by them. So, you know, it's like they gave up on life. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to quit on life. And so it's like, so I don't know, Elaine. It's just cool. It's just cool. Like it's cool to be a mom. It's cool to watch moms with their kids and see how excited a growing woman gets when, her 2-year-old or 3-year-old son discovers something he's never seen before. Like, why should the 2 and 3-year-old boys get all the fun? Like, why shouldn't why shouldn't I have fun? Why shouldn't I be discovering new things every single day? Why shouldn't I go ahead and have the thrill that a 3-year-old has when, like my granddaughter, Lily, holy cow. Like, Grandpa, you have blue eyes. I'm like, I do, honey. She's like, I have blue eyes too. I said, you do, honey. She says, Grandma has brown eyes. I'm like, you're right, honey. She does. And Mommy has brown eyes too. You're right, honey. And then a year later, she's like, Grandpa, you have purple eyes. I'm like, I do, honey. And I have pink eyes. I do. You do. Like, so now she's at 3, she's literal. She's like making observations, and it's just fascinating to me. Like, women are fascinating to me on how they know the color of your eyes. Like, men by and large don't. And at 3, she knows the color of my eyes, and she's connecting with Grandpa and her together. What a fascinating little girl. So I don't know, Elaine. Um, I mean, what else are you going to do with your mind?
Definitely better than let it get in trouble.
Right? Like,
Did
right?
you always think? Did you always think in bigger picture, or what triggered you to do that?
So there was 5, when I was 5, there was something happened in kindergarten. And I remember, Mark, that was really stupid for you to do. Like, that was not considerate. That was just not a considerate thing to do. So it seems like I maybe have been introspective, curious, but I'm far more curious now, at least as much as I remember. Like, I'm far more curious now than I've ever been in my life, without question. And I'm far more excited to learn than I've ever been in my life, at least that I remember. It's just, it's like life is so precious every day, every moment. And to have, like, when, Lincoln and I were at church and we're walking around and he pointed at the wall. I said, do you know what that is? Oh, yeah, that's concrete. What's concrete? And he knew. I mean, I'll never forget that. Like, there's all of these, and with kids, it's so easy to have these special experiences. They're so, like, my younger brother, Dan, he was in the military for 22 years. And, he lived in DC area. We lived in Chicago area. So we weren't close. And we went on a guy's weekend and and he said, yeah, I kind of feel bad that, my kids aren't connected, and his wife is black. So the kids are biracial and stuff. And he says, I'm kind of feel bad that my kids, my girls aren't, connected to you or to the brothers, to the family. I said, well, I mean, I'll talk to him every Saturday. Like, hey, you want to really? I'm like, yeah, oh, absolutely. And his wife and him, neither of them understood. They were kind of weird. They thought I was weird. They're like, they both were on for the first few times, and then the wife was on for a month or so, and then April dropped off, which was fine. And Dan, he was on a little longer, but then eventually it was just me and the girls, and it was fine. And we did all these cool adventures. I mean, it's like kids are just. So yes, I think in answer to your question, I've always been strange, but now maybe more so, or maybe it shows up more. I don't know. Yeah, good question. Any other questions or thoughts from anyone?
I'm jumping off now.
Yep. Anything else,
No.
Why do you
Anita?
think some people know remember their childhood way better than others do? And what connection do you think that has to
Right.
whether they're successful or not?
So it seems like that. It seems like that there's a pattern, like, of sexual abuse. If a child is sexually abused, their whole childhood can be a blur. Now, my oldest brother, Vern, he's a CPA, and he doesn't remember. He didn't remember his childhood when he was a child, and I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident he wasn't sexually abused. And so I don't know if there's a choice. Like, like I remember, like my brother, like my parents, they would, they made sacrifices. So we're 16, 15 years old, and we're going to Bible Baptist Church or Bible Baptist Christian Academy in Romeoville, Illinois. And my mom drove us there every morning. And, so it's a private Christian school. And, and my mom drove us there. And so it was a 45-minute drive. And she'd drive us there, drop us off, go back home, and then come back and pick us up. So it's 3 hours a day of her time. And I just was really appreciative of that. I'm like, wow, like that's a big sacrifice for my mom, and my dad too. And so I appreciated the sacrifice. And my brother, he like didn't remember it. I'm like, how? So that's when I thought I got to get pictures of things with my kids, because if I'm going to do things for my kids that I don't really enjoy doing, if they're not going to remember them, if it's not going to have any significance, why waste the time? So I became intentional as a teenager, because I'm like, it's kind of goofy when you think about it. You do all these things, for your kids that you don't really want to do to, I don't know, create memories. And then they don't even appreciate them. So I wonder, I don't know, Elaine, if it's maybe like, is it that some people realize the preciousness of life, the significance of life? Is it that they went down a path when they were a child and I don't know, they got hurt and didn't heal from it? I mean, some kids, and with 5 kids, some kids are hard workers naturally, and others not so much. Like some kids are natural savers, they save money, and other kids are natural spenders. Um,
Right.
so I don't know the answer to that, Elaine, but um, great question though. I mean, your voice in my headset on friendship and then healing. I wonder if a lot of it comes back down to purpose and meaning in life. Like you think about it. I mean, if you just think about it, like you have one life, that's it. I mean, unless you're Buddhist or, and you believe in reincarnation, then I guess you have a bunch of lives. And so, but Christians, so I believe there's one life. And so, and then if you believe that there's an eternity, which I do, so that it goes on forever, there's never stop. And if you believe your eternity is influenced based on how you live your life in a very different way. You play at a totally different level than other people are playing at. It's like, you know, um, like my kids said, Dad, you've never drank, and you know, you don't do this and that. Like aren't you afraid of you're missing out on something in life? And you just look like Nora did when, she raised Amish, and she saw her older siblings go through Rumspringer, and she's like, that doesn't create happiness. Like that's not, it's something like she was introspective as a girl. So, as a 13, 14, 15-year-old girl, she's looking and she's observing. I just told this to Kenny, I think Kenny and Luke this morning, where I thought, well, if one of my older kids, flame out, do stupid choices, then the younger kids will see and learn from it. But that doesn't happen. So I don't, it's puzzling to me. I mean, it's puzzling to me. My 27-year-old son, we were playing pickleball, and afterwards we're talking, and he says, "Dad, are you happy?" I said, "I am." And he says, "Well, you know how to disguise it well." I'm like I don't know. Like so, so I wonder, Elaine, if uh, on my saddest days, if I'm happier than people on their happiest day. It looks like they're happy, but maybe they're not. Looks like I'm sad, maybe I'm not. And so I don't know. People say, Mark, you think a lot. Like, well, what else are you going to do with your brain? like I don't understand. Like it to me, it just, I like, like capture every thought, okay, and get to bed early, get a great night's sleep, so you can wake up in the morning and your mind is just on fire. You're just like, whoa. Other questions or thoughts, ladies?
I don't think so.
Anita, anything you got?
No.
Oh, the internalization. I mean, that's something like I think Elaine is naturally good at internalizing things. I wonder, I wonder if Nora is too. I wonder if when we internalize people who internalize things, I wonder if they have a lot more pain in their life. I wonder if somebody who has a lot of pain in their life, they realize that pain is not bad. It's just pain, and so it can be good. And so I'm going to learn from it. So yeah, there's some. When you look at when you look at these models, like the flawless thinking model, it's like there's 26 different major elements, and tens of thousands of sub elements. And it's like, what do each of these mean? And what do we do with it? Like, I'm always focused on doing, like, okay, I learned something. I see a movie. What am I going to do with it? I read a book. What am I going to do with it? I go to church on Sunday. What am I going to do with it? Like, what am I going to do with whatever I'm experiencing? Anyways, thanks for asking, Elaine. Thanks, ladies, for participating. Appreciate you all. We'll see you. Bye.